Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lindsay. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not and you're already subscribed, nice to see you again. How are you on this wonderful Friday? Actually, when I'm filming this, it's Wednesday, but you'll be seeing this on Friday. That's just how things work around here. But anyways, so I have been going through a lot of changes and they're not bad, but it's brought me to an important realization, or I shouldn't say realization, but something I've noticed is a lot of people really hate change. They're either afraid of it or they're stuck in their ways and they don't want anything to change. So today we're going to talk about changes, how I deal with them, how do you deal with them, things you can do to maybe accept changes better, and how we can all sort of change for the better. Now, sometimes we'll change for the worse, but you can't help everybody. So with that, let's get into today's video. So some changes that have been going on in my life have been happening for about a year now, or I should say a year and a half, because last April, in my previous video, I stated, I quit my job as a hairstylist and I stayed home all summer. I didn't put this part in, but I stayed home all summer to take care of my two kids, my two nephews, and my niece and my nephew for foster care. That was a big change that happened, and I basically had no choice but to deal with it because I had these kids who were relying on my husband, and my dad to take care of them while this whole situation was going down. So that was one big change, and that was a change. The foster parenting I wasn't afraid of. It was quitting my job as a hairstylist that I was so terrified of. I didn't think I could do, or it's not that I didn't think I could do anything else, but I was afraid. I can't read the future, not technically. That's another story. But I couldn't see what the future was holding. I was scared to take that step forward. But at that point, I was mentally burnt out and I really didn't have anything to lose. And like I said before, I was being a total bitch to my husband who did not deserve it, and just being crabby all around to basically everybody. And so that's when my husband initiated that I start changing things. So I did that. And then there was the change of going back to school as a non-traditional student at 30 with classmates who are quite a bit younger than I am. I'm almost twice their age, which is crazy. But there was also that aspect that was making me nervous. Not because I really cared about what these kids think of me and my oldness. And really, I don't think 31 is old. I just like to joke about it, so don't take that seriously. But it's just nervous being around new people. It's almost like a new old environment because when I went for cosmetology, we were kind of in our own little department. We didn't really interact with the rest of the school. We had a different schedule than everybody else. So I kind of felt like weird that I was actually going back to get like real college experience at 30. And so that change kind of made me nervous. And I think it was also the fact that I knew I was going to have homework and all this work, and I was taking care of all these kids, and it was just like a lot to think about. So then I had another change when the kids went home with their mom in March. It's like everything just kind of stopped. Um, and I was like, oh, I can breathe. I love my niece and nephews to death, but taking care of 6 kids some of the time can take a toll on you. And it's like I had been taking care of them so much, I wasn't really focusing on myself, which it happens. I don't blame them for it. Like I said, I love them to death, but that was another change that happened. And then I should say 2 years ago, I changed my diet to the ketogenic diet. And lately, it's honestly been kind of difficult to deal with that for some reason. Like, I don't know if I'm just resisting this change now again, and what can I do to get right back on track. So I've kind of been resisting the keto change, but I don't want to change back to an all carb diet. So I myself am still dealing with changes. Let's see, some changes that have been happening in our town that people are freaking out about. It's so crazy. So, one change that happened was in Watertown. I live on Highway 81, or I don't live on Highway 81. I live close to it. In my town is Highway 81. It's a major highway. And the South Dakota Department of Transportation decided to put a roundabout on Highway 81 at this intersection that is by our ethanol plant. Now, the people in my town freaked out about it. They were like, no trucks are going to be able to get through. People don't know, why do we need this roundabout? I like things this way, blah, blah, blah. And I'm still trying to figure out, why was it such a big deal? It's a roundabout. You learn to drive through it. You learn to drive cars the first time, and you learn to drive on roads. Roads and cars and things change all the time. What's the big deal? I still don't get it. Like, to me, it was just like, okay, it's an easier way to get through an intersection. And if it was a stoplight, okay, that would have been fine too. Either one is better than the way it was, which was a 4-way stop, for which people did not rarely stop in the first place. They more or less rolled through the intersection. But since roundabouts aren't a thing we really have around this area, people were so unfamiliar with them that it scared them. But how come they don't deal with that change? Like, why? I'm still trying to understand why a roundabout's so scary. It's the 4-leaf clover interchanges on interstates that are scary to me. But anyways, so we actually got a roundabout last year by the wellness center area, and people, freaked out about that because they don't want to change and they can't think about changing the way they drive to accommodate the city better or any of that. Um, and I guess my other question is, if the city wanted to do this and these people had all these questions about, is this vehicle, going to be able to get through? They have engineers that figure that stuff out. I I guess this is kind of a rant video too, but yeah, I'm still trying to understand why people freak out about stupid stuff like roundabouts. I still don't get it. And honestly, the roundabout is wonderful. I love it. And I hope these people never travel anywhere else outside of South Dakota because there are plenty of roundabouts in Minnesota. So that was one change that happened and that I am trying to get people to understand. So another change that happened that people were freaking out about in my town was our one-way Kemp Avenue changed to a two-way this just a couple weeks ago actually, and people were so adamant that it wasn't going to work, that it was the worst thing in the world, that why did they do it to First Avenue when they shouldn't have done it? Like, it's always been that way, and blah, blah, blah. And then they changed Kemp Avenue to better reflect the changes that are happening in Watertown. Again, people freaked out about it. It's what way you drive on the street. Why does it make such a big deal if it changes back? Oh my God, like I don't get it. It's so crazy. So, anyways, a bunch of people freaked out about that. And the funny thing was, they painted the lines crooked, like in the center. So everyone's like, told you so. Like, I knew something was going to happen, but really, it's like lines on the road. How does this affect your everyday life? It doesn't. You just don't want to accept change. But we must accept change if we are going to grow and get better at things and try new things, be different, all that. So how do we like move on from change? You know, I had another change in my life here where I told you before, Pure Fitness closed down. And while it's sad it happened, I understand change is inevitable and it's not that big of a deal, honestly. I loved it and it had its good time, but Lindsay and Ryan needed to change, and so they did. And I, again, commend them for that. And now, since that changed in their life, it affects my life. So then I also have to deal with that change. But my way of changing is to be optimistic, be looking out for the future. You know, your present doesn't define your future. So the way I look at it is it may have closed and I may have loved it there, but anything could happen. You do not know the future. You can't always anticipate change. So you have to just be ready for it mentally. So the things I do to prepare myself for change are I ask, is this the end of the world? No, it's not. Does it suck at the moment? Yes, sometimes it does suck. And I go through my human emotions when change happens. So if it is something that I'm not anticipating or didn't expect, or it is something like negative, I let myself go through those human emotions. I go through anger, I go through regret, I go through grief, and then I go through working through it, and then I move on. That's what I do. So that's what I do. Another way I deal with change is to try and be, or I don't try, I be positive about something, whether it be good or bad. So if it is something bad that happens in my world, it might not be bad in another person's world. But if it's something like negative or bad in my world and I don't like it, I ask, what can I do to change it? I don't have to sit here and wait for the world to happen. I am the catalyst of change. I can make things happen. I just have to think of a plan, think of how to do the plan, and then execute the plan, whatever that plan may be. Also, know that change is inevitable unless you live in your unless you live on your own little island where nothing happens, you got no communication from anybody, you don't know anybody, you're all by yourself. You have to know that change is going to happen. Like, that's just how the universe works. We're not meant to stay the same, in my opinion. We are meant to change. We're meant to learn lessons. We're meant to grow and get better. It's you dealing with that change that shows your character, your integrity, all of those things. So, those are some ways I deal with change. Let's make it a conversation. How do you deal with change? And also, I like to troll the people who freak out about change, because I don't know if that's a mean thing to do, but it's kind of funny. I don't do it to be mean. I kind of do it to make, I don't know. I don't know if it helps them realize, but change is inevitable. And if you don't deal with it now, you're going to have to deal with it eventually. And if you can't accept that change, then you're never going to grow and get better and just be a better person overall. So I just hope that we can all accept change no matter what it is and find ways to be proactive about the change that happens in our lives, in your life, in my friends' lives, in my family's lives, and everything. So I hope we had a nice talk today. And if you have anything, leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Ring the little bell so you get a notification every time I upload. And if you want to see more, I hopefully will be uploading every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you have any ideas for future topics we could talk about, let me know. I love the YouTube platform, and I'd love to see our little family grow. So I am going to go now because I have class in about 50 minutes, and I will talk to you later. Love you. Bye.